Hey, it's Paul with RackOutfitters.com, here to show you the Rhino-Rack Vortex ROC25 flush roof rack system. Here we have it installed onto this Honda Civic, which is a bare roof vehicle. This same fit is designed for most vehicles with a bare roof. Of course, check the Rhino-Rack fit guide to verify the fit for your particular year, make, model of vehicle. So we've already pre-installed the front load bar. Here on the bench, we've got the rear load bar, which also is partially assembled. So what we'll do is focus on the rear right side and demonstrate the installation so you get a good overall feeling of what it takes to do this assembly. So for starters, this system comprises 3 components. So it starts off with a box that contains the pre-cut load bars. There'll be 2 load bars in this particular box. Then next you have the leg set, and so the ROC25 leg set, of course you'll have 4 legs. Here we just have the one that's left. The rest have already been pre-installed. You'll also have 2 keys because locks are included. And then you'll have these identification stickers identifying each of the legs to make sure that it corresponds with the instructions. And then there's a specialty tool that's included. There's also stainless steel fasteners, which we'll explain that here shortly. Additionally, there are illustrated instructions that go over all these details to supplement, provide the actual instructions for this supplemental video. So, also, you have the vehicle-specific fitting kit. The fitting kit has a number on the end, which is predetermined for that particular vehicle. So in that box, you'll have the vehicle-specific instructions. You'll have the clips. You'll get 4 of these door frame brackets, which have rubber on the inner edge where it's contacting the vehicle surface. And then you'll also have the contoured rubber bases. Again, 4 of those. This is the last one of the 4. Okay, so let's go into some detail first about the bars themselves. So this is an extruded aluminum bar with a black anodized finish. It has excellent aerodynamics with the shape at the front. One thing to know is when you get this out of the box, you'll want to shake the rubber strips out from the inside of the box. So those rubber strips, they're called VGS rubber strips, stands for Vortex Generating Strips. So the idea behind this strip is that what it'll do is it'll disrupt the airflow as it passes across the top of the bar, which will minimize wind noise of the bar. So overall, you've got aerodynamic performance from the general shape of the bar as well as the VGS rubber strip. Now, additionally, because this is a symmetrically shaped bar versus an airfoil shaped type bar, you still get good aerodynamics from the frontal portion of the bar, normal airflow disruption at the top of the bar, but then the asymmetrical shape on the backside means that if you attach an accessory around the bar, you get a good stable platform to connect that accessory. But you also have the other alternative method of attachment, which is certain accessories can mount directly to the bar on the top side of this track. Okay, so with that explained, let's move on to the legs. So now here's one of the legs. Let's go ahead and unlock the leg and remove the outer cover. So I've unlocked it and I'll just slide it outward so it engages into a track on the top that allows it to slide outward. Okay, so we'll set that aside. Behind that cover, you've got the fastener, which will be holding the door frame bracket into place and tensioning it. And then you also have the base plate. So the base plate has an arrow on it. Now let's go ahead and see how that applies here in the instruction manual. So the instruction manual for the fit kit is broken up into 2 sections. You have the front bar section and you have the rear bar section. So we've already done the front bar, so we'll focus on the rear bar. And to further define it, you have rear right and rear left. So we're focused on the rear right, so we can focus on this column. So back to this bottom plate. The bottom plate says out, which is saying that the plate needs to be facing outward. So the orientation will be outward like you see it there. Next, we've got the base pad. So here's our base pad, and it too has corresponding numbers. In this case, it's M284, which matches here where it says M284. and it also has indication saying pad arrow forward. So that means the pad arrow forward, we'll just go ahead and press the rubber around the perimeter on this particular bracket, and now we can go ahead and snap it back into place. Okay, then back to the instructions again. We've got the door frame bracket, which is defined by the part number again for the right rear, which is SUB or sub 0459, and that corresponds here with the number on the guide. So a way that Rhino-Rack makes things easy to keep track of is they provide these decals, which you should, upon opening the leg kit, apply one to each of the legs, and from that point forward that leg would be assigned to that particular set of components for that position on the vehicle. Okay, so let's go ahead and take the next step. So this is a flush-ended design, which means the bars have been pre-cut at the factory to the specifications for the vehicle. So what I'm going to do is just slide in the leg into the end of the bar. You can press, and if yours presses on smoothly without any effort, that's great, but if yours doesn't, you can use a rubber mallet and gently persuade the leg to press further in so that the gap that you see here is no longer there. So we're just going to give it a gentle Okay, so now I've tapped it in place so that there's no gap there. Now what will happen is with that in place, I can pull up the rubber strip and you'll see where there's a hole in the top, and I can use this screw to go down through that hole, and with a Phillips style screwdriver you'll go ahead and tighten that stainless steel screw into place. So once it's fully tightened, you can replace the rubber strip. Now we're at the stage where we can go ahead and put the door frame bracket in place. We'll unscrew the threaded post here. I'm unscrewing it from a metal threaded section, and I'm holding it with the back of my other hand so that it doesn't fall outward. And now we have the door frame bracket that goes into place, and we'll begin just tightening that, but just loosely. So I'm feeling with my index finger the bolt coming through, and I'm stopping when it's flush. That way it'll match what I've done on this opposite side, and we're at the same starting point from both ends. Next, what we're going to do is go to the vehicle and prepare the vehicle for the installation of the rack. To do so, we want to open up both doors and then also make sure that the door frames are clean. So to do that, just use your preferred cleaner and open up the door and make sure there's nothing, dust, grime, anything in the general area where the rack will be resting. And that would be for both sides. Okay, so both sides doors are also open now. So what we'll do here is we'll take, with the door frame brackets on, we'll extend over and beyond and gently bring the leg into place on the roof. Now I have it in just a general positioning here. So what we'll need to do is, with a measuring tape and our instruction sheet, so we've already completed the steps on this side of the instruction sheet. Now we're moving to this side of the instruction sheet, where is the positioning of the rack on the vehicle. And so here we have two different positions in this diagram. A is the position for the front bar. So to understand that positioning, the measurement starts at the end of the door frame, and we'll go to this middle section on the leg. And so in this case it's 300, so you measure from here to here at 300, and then that's the positioning where you do your front bar. And of course the front bar is always done first, because the rear bar is based on a center to center measurement from front to rear. So let's do that now. Now the other thing you can do, because it can, especially with the flush-ended bar, it can be difficult to know exactly where the center is within this whole area. So what you can do is use a front-to-front method of measuring. So I have the measuring tape right at the front of the VGS strip, and then I'll bring it right to the front of the VGS strip on this rack. So you're not having to determine center to center, but you're getting an accurate center to center measurement by using the front to front method. So that's a pro tip that can make things more accurate and helpful for the install. Okay, so I got that position. Now I'll go to the opposite side and do the same thing. So here I'm at 73.5, so I want to bring that into our 700 millimeters for this particular install. Now, having moved this side so much, there's a good chance that I'll have to double check that opposite side. So any movement on this side can affect the opposite side. Okay, so I have that in place. I also have the door frame bracket aligned. Let's go back to this side, and what we'll see is that it's very likely that this side has moved, and we'll want to reposition it and double check it. So I got there, and yes, it's moved, so I'll just get that realigned. Now we can begin our first tensioning of the door frame bracket. So I want to get that engaged. Now what you'll see here is that this door frame bracket has a riveted hinge point, which allows for the angle to match the angle of the door frame. So I'll go ahead and bring that into place, set that angle, and I can start to remove the initial slack from that fastener. And that's the only thing that we're doing, is just removing the initial slack, and then we'll do the same thing on the opposite side. So I've removed the slack on this side. Now I'm beginning the first round of tensioning on this side, just to get it snug. At that point I can even close that door. Okay, so here we've removed the slack. We'll do the first round of tensioning. You'll notice how it's lifted up there slightly, and it's not fully positioned where the rubber makes contact, so we'll get it there. So we're about at the same tension as the opposite side, and so now we can do our final round of tensioning here. And this is where the specialty tool comes into play. So because we're at the final round of tensioning, the curvature that you see on the end of the handle is there to give you a good indication of the final tensioning. So once you're pressing on the end of that curved handle, and once that goes flat, then you know you've hit the tension that's required to securely mount the rack. Okay, so we got that side fully tensioned. Now let's do the same thing on this side. Okay, so there we have both sides fully tensioned. Lastly, we can go ahead and install the locking covers, and those just slide into place. And again, there's tracks that engage with that track. Just slide forward and lock. Now you have your system completely locked and completely secure. Now a final touch that can be very helpful is this other adhesive sticker that's included. This is an arrow that you place directly center line on your door frame bracket. Now if you do take your roof rack off and want to put it back on again, this will give you a rough guide to put it back in the correct spot. So if you don't have your instructions handy, then you'll have that as a guide. As you can see here on the front, we've already have that in place. And that gives you a quick reference to reinstall your roof rack system in between uses. So this has been a guide for the installation of the Rhino-Rack Vortex ROC25 flush roof rack system. This product, along with the full line of Rhino-Rack products, are available at rackoutfitters.com. Please see the link in our video description for complete details, our pricing, and our promotions. And thanks for watching.